Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be utilizing Amazon Transfer Family so that we can utilize FTP or whichever protocol that this tutorial is using. The reason I don't know is because I originally attempted this follow along and I really got hung up on setting up Active Directory or the simple Active Directory. So I had to pull in my co-founder Beko, who's really good at Windows servers and Active Directory. And so I'm following through his stuff, but I'll contextualize what's here because I've done enough of it myself to understand what's going on. But when it comes to the Windows configuration, I am terrible at it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. The first thing we're going to do is open up Cloud Shell as we're going to be entering everything into a particular location. I notice that he's doing this in US East 1. I'm going to do it in US East 1. And the primary reason why I'm going to do that there is because I don't believe that Simple AD is accessible in any other place. So like if we go over to the service directory, directory service here, and we drop this down, you'll notice that there is no Simple AD. But if we go over to US East 1, I believe now that will appear. There we go. So we are going to be able to make the directory there. I'm going to see if that directory still exists. It does not. I'm also just going to double check and see if I need to clean anything up before we jump into this because I just don't want this to be a mess. And I'm just, again, checking if there's any instances here. Nope, everything seems to be good. I'm going to just clean up my security groups and then we'll get to this, okay? All right, I've deleted as many of my security groups as I can just to make things nice and tidy, but let's go ahead and open up the Cloud Shell console. And I want to have this in another tab just so I have a lot of room. And we're going to be creating a VPC by default, so just follow along with all the CLI commands here. And it might help for us to turn on auto prompt here. So I'm just going to type in AWS CLI auto prompt so we can get the environment variable that we need to set here. AWS, I typed it wrong. AWS CLI auto prompt. env. And we'll go ahead and copy this and we'll go paste it in. And we'll say on partial. Enter. Okay, great. So now if we just type in AWS, do we get our prompt? No. Oh yeah, we have to have a command. So just type in EC2 here. And it's interesting that it's not auto prompting. Normally what it would do is if we set that auto prompt, it would go. Unless we have spelt it wrong. I'm going to go ahead and try this again. We'll just say export. And I'm just going to put double quotations around this as the auto prompt should be working. There we go. And that's just going to make our life a lot easier because we just need to do a lot of CLI commands here today. So we're going to use the VPC, and I'm going to double check to see what VPCs I have so that my life is a little bit easier here. So we'll go over to VPC. And we'll do 10.0.0/16. I just want to make sure there are no conflicts. And apparently we already have an existing one. I would like to get rid of this one, so I'm going to go ahead and try to delete it. It says you have an instance that is here, so I'm just going to get rid of these instances, okay? All right, so now I've taken care of that other VPC. It's always great to double check to make sure you don't have conflicts, but we'll go back here and follow through as our instructions. So the first thing is we'll need to provide the CIDR block, and this one's going to be 10.0.0/16, and then we'll specify the region as US East 1, which is not necessary since we're already there, but I'm going to put it in there anyway to be very explicit. We're going to need a subnet, so we'll type in AWS. I'll hit enter so we can get into that auto prompt mode. You'll notice sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how I'm feeling at the time of. And if we go here, it should autocomplete here. I mean, it should be able to. It doesn't always, but I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. Would have been nice if it did. And we'll do a CIDR block here of 10.0.1.0. I'm not sure why Beko made that 1.0 as opposed to just 0.0, but that's okay. I'll just stick with what he has here because this is so darn hard that I do not want to even have any trouble. And for some reason, we're specifying the availability zone. And I guess it doesn't hurt. We'll say US1, AZ1. I'm not used to typing US East 1 availability zones out, so it looks a bit funny to me. And it says that it's wrong here. So let me just go back and enter in this mode here. And if I hit, I think, Control R, we can get back to our last command. And I'm going to just carefully look here, just show you that I'm not crazy. Well, you know what? Actually, I did do it wrong. It's AZ1. AZ1 like this. Okay, so I was wrong. And so now we've created our subnet. The next thing we're going to need to do is create a private subnet. So we're going to go ahead and type in AWS. And we'll do Control R to bring up our previous commands. We'll go here. And then the key difference here is that we're going to just swap out 1 for 2. So we have 2. There's nothing that indicates that this is private or public. So what I'm going to do, just to make our lives a little bit easier, I'm going to go over to our VPC. I'm just going to name some things here manually so we don't get confused. So we'll just say, what are we doing? We are doing both AD and we're doing FTP. So go ahead and save that. And in our subnets, we'll go over here. And so now we should be able to refresh this here and easily see what these subnets are. One is going to be public, so we'll mark this as public. And one is going to be private. Okay. Let's go back over to Cloud Shell and continue on. I'm just double checking here. Apparently, we need a second subnet. There's probably a reason for it. So like if you're doing FTP, we might need to have 2 different subnets in 2 different zones. And it looks like the third one's going to be public as well. So that's probably has to do with AWS transfer family, because I almost remember having to select 2 before. So we'll go ahead and just select this. And it'll make sense as we work through this. So don't worry if it doesn't make sense right now. But we'll just have to follow these steps because, again, this is just really, really hard to do. So we'll say CIDR block 10.0.30/24. We'll say region US East 1. And I'm going to say availability zone. I'm hitting tab, so I don't have to keep typing the whole thing. USE. And just get rid of this up here. USE AZ2. And we'll hit enter. And I forgot to put the 1 in there, so I'll just go and hit up. And so notice that we're putting it in US East 1 availability zone 2. So there are 2 different availability zones. Still has an issue with the way we're typing it. We'll go back and hit up. And USE 1-AZ2. Oh, ID. So apparently there's a distinction between those 2. There we go. I'm surprised that Baco did not just do availability zone and choose the more normal looking ones. I'm not used to setting them as IDs, but that's totally fine. It's still working, so that's okay. And apparently we need another one. 2 public, 2 private. Okay, fair enough. So do Control R here, and we'll go up. And then this one's going to be 4. And by the way, make sure you change these numbers out because you can create subnets with the same ones and it won't complain, which is a weird defect, I think. But we'll go ahead and hit enter. And let's go back over to our subnets and just make sure we really know what these are. So we have public. This is in subnet. What is it? This is in B. Sorry, wait. Which one is this one in? This is in B. This is in B. This is in C. This is in C. Okay. So let's say public B. Not sure why we're not doing A. That doesn't really matter, but. And then this one will be. 03 will be our. Just double checking here. Our public subnet. Public C. And then 04 will be our private C, just so we're not getting mixed up later on because it's so easy to get turned around. And so now that we have our subnets, the next thing we'll need to do is create an internet gateway. Again, not sure why we're doing all these individually, but that's okay. My co-founder, he uses the CLI exclusively, so he might not be even aware that there's a wizard that we use in every single step, and it would save us so much time. But we'll just manually do everything. It doesn't hurt getting good practice like this. So go ahead and type in EC2, and we'll type in attach, internet gateway ID, and it's auto-completing. It's whatever the new one is, so that's going to be the longer one. So I'm going to hit down and select that one. So that's finally actually auto-completed, which is nice. Then we need our VPC ID, and Which one is it? It is the longer one again, so we'll go ahead and do that. Of course, you have to really check and make sure you're choosing the right one. Okay. And so we have US East 1. Again, we don't have to specify that, but we're going to. And that will attach the internet gateway, so that now should be attached. We'll create our route table. And I don't know why. Sometimes it autocompletes, sometimes it does not, which is kind of frustrating, but we'll go ahead and paste this in manually. Oh, you know why? It's because we're not actually in the tool. We would have to hit enter on that one. We'll go ahead and create our route table. There we go. And now we need to add some routes. So I'm going to go ahead and add a route. First, I'm just going to type this in so we get autocomplete. We'll say create route table, or create route. Create route, yeah, create route. And I'm just going to hit enter here just to save us some time, assuming that the autocomplete works. And it is not. It's all right. We need to specify our CIDR destination block, which will be 0000/0. We're just routing out to the internet. That's all we're doing here, gateway ID. And that will be our internet gateway, which is here. And then we'll say region, US East 1. Great, we'll go ahead and hit enter. And so now that is associated or attached, or the route is out to the internet. We need to, well, we should explicitly associate our subnets to the route table. So that's what we're going to do now. So we have that command, and we'll just say route table ID. And this one here is the last one. And then we will select our subnet. So we need our first subnet. And I'll go back here. So we need public B and public C. Those are the two that we need. So here, I'll go here. I'm just going to grab it because it's going to be too hard to grab it any other way. And we'll say region US East 1. And I was trying to hit up there, but I guess it didn't autocomplete how I was hoping. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And I'll paste this in here. And I'm going to go over to our public C. What's even more confusing is in this tutorial that my co-founder wrote, he called it subnet A, B, C, D. And so I've called them more reflective of what they are. And so I'm hoping I don't get mixed up here. So we'll go down and we'll take a look at our actual VPC here. And we'll go our resource map out. We have two route tables. We have two public going here and private going there. And so that makes sense. So this one's not attached to any internet gateway. So that's basically our private route table. And this is our public route table. And we can even just indicate that more clearly here if it helps. So we have this one. This one has a route to nothing. So that's our default table. I'm gonna hit refresh because it's not showing all our tables. Is it? Let me go refresh this here. And if I go into here, this is our public. Yeah, this is our public RT. And let's take a look at what the other one is. So this one is up here, and this will be our private RT. Okay, because this one should not have a route out to the internet, which is fine. And then the other ones are just automatically associated with it. And we could give them an explicit association, which I think probably would make more sense. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's not part of the instructions, but I'm going to go do that right now so that I'm not confused. The next thing we're going to do is create a Active Directory. I'll show you in the console, but we have to do this everything through the CLI because that's our instructions. But we'll just peek into it to see what that looks like. So we'll go over to Service Directory or Directory Service, however it wants to be called. And if you drop down here, we have Simple AD. And so here you have some options. And the idea is you go here next. Again, we're not going to do this for real, but the idea is that we want to choose a small size directory. We choose a directory DNS name. This can basically be anything. It doesn't have to be a real domain. And then your NetBIOS is like this short name that you use when you log in. Then you set an administration password, a confirmation password. Then you choose your VPCs and subnets. You have to choose 2 subnets. And then you are good to go. This takes quite a while to spin up. So We will be patiently waiting for that. You do get a free trial for the first time you run it. I've already ran it multiple times, so I imagine I'm out of trial. If you're concerned about costs, go look up the costs. It's not hard. Just type in simple ID pricing and do the diligence there yourself. So let's go ahead and create this directory. So I'm going to type in AWS DS and create directory, and then we'll start entering all the stuff in. So the first will be the name, and I'm going to call this adexampro.co. It's not uncommon to have a subdomain for your Active Directory. I'm going to put a password here. I'm going to make my password capital T testing 123 exclamation mark. Bako has put in a Star Trek reference in the documentation here. He wrote Terok Nora, which is a Star Trek reference. I'm going to keep it simple here for folks. We're going to select the size, which will be small. We'll choose region, US East 1. We'll select the VPC settings, or assign the VPC settings. And so here we need to assign our VPC ID. And we'll go over to here. We'll just scroll up a little bit. Should have a VPC here somewhere. There we go. There it is. We'll copy this. And we'll paste it in. And then we need to select subnet. He calls it subnet B and D, and I believe those are our private ones. D is private. I'm going to just double check here. I'm just, yeah, it is. Okay. So we'll go back over to our VPC. We'll grab it over here. It's a bit easier to see what we're doing if we do that. And we'll go back to our subnets, and we want the private ones. So I call private B and private C to reflect where they are. But we'll go ahead and copy subnet, the subnet here, and this will be, we'll go down here and we'll choose, I lost my spot. Here we go. Subnet IDs. And then we'll paste that one in, put a comma, and we'll go grab the other one. So we just grabbed the first one, and then we'll grab the second private one. And we'll paste it in. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. And it did not like it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit up. Sorry, Command R. Sorry. Control C. We're going to hit up, hit enter, then Command R, and I'm going to go hit up again. And so I typed password wrong. Okay. Password. We'll go ahead and hit enter. Unknown options, subnet IDs. I might have forgot a comma or something. Let me just see here. And we'll do Command R. We'll hit up. And that's my issue, is that I don't have a comma between this. Otherwise, the short syntax isn't going to work correctly. And we'll hit enter. Holy smokes, this is tricky. Again, this is not how I would write it, you know, but I don't have a choice because it's so hard to set up. I really have to stick to our instructions as per its setting. So here it was complaining that saying the following arguments are required. We have password there. So what I'm going to do, just to make my life easier, is going to copy or put quotations around this stuff here. Maybe the password's not long enough, so I'm going to make it 456. Sometimes that's a complaint. And the size is right, everything else is right. Let's hit enter. Unknown options, subnet IDs. All right, let's look at this command. This is ridiculous. We'll go over here. We'll go down to output. Global options, nope. Nope, doesn't tell you it. So we got password, we put that in. We have size, we have that in there. And then there should be VPC settings in here. And let's go to version 2, make sure we are using the right one. Okay. Here I have VPC settings, subnet IDs. Did we put a space in between it? Is that why it's complaining? Well, this one didn't have it. Oh boy. Try this again. Command R. We'll go down. So this one has the password corrected. It has the comma here, but it needs a comma here. So finicky. I'll hit enter. And there we go. We finally have our directory. Now, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily available. Let's go over to Active Directory or Directory Services again. And if we go to directories, notice that it's creating. So we're going to have to wait for that to create. And this will just be some time we'll have to wait, okay? So I'll see you back here in a bit, okay? All right, let's take a look here and give this a refresh. And so now it is active. We can continue on. And so what we'll be doing is setting up the virtual server for the Amazon family transfer. I'm going to open up a new tab. And again, just kind of peek in at what that looks like. So we'll make our way over to AWS Transfer Family. You can search at the top or just click through. And so here, the idea is that we need to create ourselves a server. We'll choose our protocol. We'll have to choose an endpoint, domain, etc. So if I just go ahead here, you could see that we would choose a directory service, and we go next, and then we would choose something in particular here, or maybe it's in VPCs because it's internal. All right, so you get the kind of idea here. Let's go back over here and enter the stuff in. So we'll type in AWS transfer create server. And I'll go ahead and hit enter here. And so we're going to need an what? No, I didn't think that would work. Okay, go back. Hold on. That wasn't supposed to work. We'll go ahead and delete that. That was silly. I wanted it to enter into that other mode. So I'll go back here and I'll just type AWS transfer this time. Create server. Rarely ever does that ever work. So I was really surprised. Endpoint type is going to be VPC. The endpoint provider, identity provider, provider type. This is going to be AWS directory service. We're going to choose our region to be US East 1, so we don't muck that up, even though it'd be very hard for us to muck that up. We'll go endpoint details, and so in here we're providing the VPC ID. So we'll go ahead and copy this, and then the subnets. The syntax is identical to this one, so I'm going to save myself some trouble and copy this one. But the question is, which subnets are we utilizing here? Because we need A and C. And these ones are the private ones, which are B and D. Well, I say A and C and B and D, that's Baco's naming, but I think these are the private ones, and these are the public ones. So we can't match this other one exactly. We're going to have to just make sure we extract out the correct values here. And so we'll put a comma, and then subnet IDs. And then it's equals, and we'll go and grab the public subnets. So we'll go over here, make a new tab. We'll go over to VPC. And we'll go over to subnets, and we'll grab our first public subnet. Which is good. And we'll put a comma here, and then we'll grab our second public subnet. Okay, are we done? We need to provide our identity provider details, so that's another thing that we need to provide here. So this one is going to be the directory ID that we need to provide, and so that's going to be this right here. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. And there we go. So now our virtual server is configured. Let's go back and take a look. Give this a refresh here. So we have it. It says it's online, VPC point type. Domain is Amazon S3. I'm going to assume that's okay. We'll go into, yeah, because that's where we want it to be. And the thing is, we could send this to EFS or S3. Really depends on where we want it to go, because we didn't go through the usual interface. That's why it's a little bit confusing. It's not that confusing, but it's not as clear. Okay, apparently there's an alternate port for 2222, which is interesting. So we'll just continue on. So we'll go back to Cloud Shell. And just give me a second, okay? So it looks like we need to stop the server. I'm not sure why, but I think it has to do with some other configuration. Baco didn't write exactly why, but I'm just going to follow his steps and stop the server. That doesn't necessarily mean we're deleting it. We're just turning it off for the moment. And we do have a lot to configure, so that kind of makes sense. AWS stop server. We need to specify transfer here. Now we're going to allocate two elastic IP addresses for BC2. Say region US East 1. So there will be 1. And then we'll hit up again, and then we'll have 2. Need to assign these EIPs to the transfer service. So that's what we'll do next. So we're going to update the server. That's why we shut it off, because we are associating these static IPs. So type in server ID. And we'll go here and copy and paste. We'll say endpoint details. And then we will, I'm going to just hit enter here so that I get the autocomplete, which is a lot nicer. There we go. We'll say address, allocation IDs. And so it's going to be this one here. Paste that in. And we'll grab the second one here. Put a comma here. Paste this in. Square brace. And then we'll just, again, just stick with our region. Make sure we are creating this in the correct location. Okay, and so those are now associated. I wonder if we can see this anywhere. So I'm just going to look here before we do anything else. Private IPs, public. We'll give this a nice refresh here. Hard refresh here. You can see that it's offline right now. I see public IP addresses. Maybe these weren't there before, so maybe that's what we had done. And now we need to restart our server, or just start it up, I should say. Transfer, start, server, and we'll just grab the server ID here. And hit enter. Probably have to, put the flag in front of it here, server ID. And we'll go back to our transfer service, and we will make sure that it is starting up. So it is currently starting. As we're waiting, we need to create ourselves an EC2 instance profile. So we can do that via the CLI as well. So I'm just going to make a new file. I'm going to just type the word vi. Now we're entering Vim mode, which is very particular, so be very careful what you press here. And so I'm going to hit I for insert mode. I'm going to right click and paste. And notice what we're pasting. We'll say paste. And notice we're in insert mode. I'm going to hit escape. And now we're entering normal mode. Escape. Just click if it loses focus. And I'm doing colon. See down below? It's down below here. WQ. I use Vim every day. It doesn't want to save this file, as we didn't specify a file name. So I'm going to go colon Q exclamation mark to quit out of this. I type in vi. I'm going to just say policy here. Policy.json. Okay, and so again, we're going to enter insert mode by hitting I. We're going to right click, paste. Okay, we're going to, don't worry that the formatting's messed up. Just click into here, hit escape, colon, WQ. That formatting definitely does not matter. We'll go ahead and create ourselves a new role. We'll call this EC2 sessions, session manager. Well, now we obviously don't need this because we've created roles in the prior, but again, just to stick with this tutorial, we're going to have to really just follow everything just in case. And we'll go ahead and do this. It has an issue here. AWS IAM create role. Role name looks correct. Assume role document. Assume role policy document is what we're supposed to write here. And we'll hit enter. Still doesn't like it. We'll go back and go up. We have to spell assume correct or it won't work. This thing is not really cooperating here too much today. Assume role policy document, sorry. We'll hit enter. There we go. So that is now created. So we now have our IAM, like our instance profile, or to have our IAM role. So we'll have access to Sessions Manager. Next thing we need to do is attach SSM Amazon AD access policy to the new role. So we just create this role. So I guess it's not the same as our other one because apparently we are attaching additional things here. In fact, we're going to attach a couple things. So say attach role policy. We'll say role name EC2 sessions manager. So session manager here. We got to spell it right. Session manager role policy ARN, and this one's going to be ARN : AWS : IAM : policy : Amazon SSD directory service access. It'll all be named the same for everybody because it's a managed one by AWS. It doesn't like our ARN. So ARN, AWS, IAM, AWS policy. That's what it's supposed to be. Still doesn't like it. So you've got ARM, AWS, IAM. This is here. ARM, AWS, IAM, AWS policy, Amazon. Oh, SSMD. Okay, SSMD. Okay, I don't want to goof around with this all day, so I'm going to make my way over to IAM, and we'll just go grab it manually. And we're attaching a policy, so we'll go here, and we're looking for Amazon SSD M directory. There it is. We'll click into it, and we'll grab the ARN here. I have no idea what I'm spelling wrong here, so we'll go up. We'll paste that in here. Double. Okay? I just want to show that I don't have it wrong. Look. ARN, AWS, IAM. He's missing the double in here, so it's wrong. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Great, so we've attached that one. I'm going to hit up. We need the Amazon Managed Instance Core session. So we'll go ahead and do that. Well, actually, that was just the trust policy that we did up here. We didn't even actually attach any roles. So we'll go over to our policies here. And I'm going to type in core, and we'll grab this one here. And we'll grab its ARN. We'll make our way back over to here. And we'll paste it in, and we'll hit enter. So now we've attached that other policy. Apparently, we're going to create an inline policy as well. Oh, this just keeps going and going. Okay, so we'll type in vi, and I'll type in join JSON. And I'm going to copy this code here. You're going to have to write it out by hand, unfortunately. We're going to hit insert mode. I'm going to right-click and paste this in. Again, I just want to point out that this stuff here is on the Exampro platform, and it's free. All you have to do is sign up for free, and you'll get that in line, and you'll be able to access that information, okay? Otherwise, it's going to be very hard if you are trying to follow along here. We're going to go ahead and paste this in. And yes, that is ugly. I do not care. I'm going to do :WQ. Notice that we're adding SSM create association, SSM update association, SSM list instance association for resource all. I'm going to go ahead and say write and quit. I'm sorry, I'm still in insert mode. We'll hit escape and then : write and quit. I'm going to just type in clear. I'm going to do ls here. And so we can see we have the join file. I'm going to now join this here, or not join it, but add it as an inline policy. So let's say put role policy role name EC2 session manager role policy name simple AD join policy document. This is going to be file : / join JSON region US East 1. We'll hit enter. So now we've attached the ability to use to associate the join. Okay. Now we need to create our instance profile. So that's why we created this, was so that we could set up this when we launch up our EC2 instance. It's going to be running Windows. EC2 session manager profile. We'll hit enter. And it says it already exists. Okay. Give me a second here because I haven't created it yet. So it's saying another one already exists. You know what I think it is? I think it's that Baco made one and never deleted it. And it's kind of hard to delete instance profiles. So what I'm going to do is just delete it, and then I'll just be back in 1 second. All right, so I deleted it, and I'll go back up, and I will try this now again. You wouldn't have to delete it. It was just the fact that we ran this lab previously. IAM profiles are interesting because you can't really access them via the console, but you'll only see them through here. So it makes sense why Baco did not delete it after he did this. The next thing we'll need to do is add... We created our instance profile. Now we need to add... Yeah, we created the instance profile, but the role's not attached to it. So that's what we're doing now. And that's just a separate step. So EC2... I think like when we did the EC2 stuff, I didn't actually go through these commands, so it's actually great that we're doing this now. So we're going to go attach that role. Cannot be found. Yeah. EC2 session manager role. There we go. There we are. And so now we need to create the security group that we're going to use. So we'll say AWS EC2 create security group. And we'll say group name Windows. I'll type it the same. Windows SG1 description. Windows serve SG. VPC ID. I'd love it if it would autocomplete here. I'm going to hit enter. And we'll try this again and see if it autocompletes. No. Of course it's not going to autocomplete. It's weird that it like sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Very inconsistent. Sometimes the order matters, is what I found. And we're going to go down here and grab this. We'll go back here and paste this in here. So we have VPC ID. And we'll just say region, US East 1. So now we are creating the this here. We'll go ahead and check your current WAN IP. For what? It says check your current WAN IP for what? On where? 1 second, I'll be back. All right, so WAN means local, like I know what WAN stands for, but I'm not a networking folk, so he was saying like get your current IP address, and we don't have to curl. We can just go to this website and grab it. So just say ifconfig.me. And the reason we're doing this is that we just want to know what our current IP address is so that we are only letting our machine here on Windows or Mac, whatever, being able to gain access. So we're really just wanting that address. We'll go over here. I'm going to type in AWS. And I was telling Baco, I was like, Baco, if you ever do this again, just make this a CloudFormation template because it's so painful. Now he's showing me a photo of his tomatoes. It's so painful to, we're both growing tomatoes. I do hydroponics. And his are bigger than mine. And I set up both the buckets. So something's wrong with my setup. And I'm supposed to be the person that knows what's going on here. Anyway, let's get back to it here. So we have our IP address. Let's go ahead and work through this. Again, it doesn't hurt. Like, it's great to get good practice here. I just don't like writing so much here. Authorize, group ingress, group ID. And this will be the security group we just created, I guess, wherever that is. We made a security group somewhere here. I guess I'll go over here and go to SG. And this is the one we created. It's over here. It's weird that it's like Windows Security Group name and then name. Yeah, whatever. We'll grab that there. Oh, sorry. We want the ID. We want the ID. There we go. Okay, so we'll go back over to here. And we'll paste that in here. And then we'll say protocol, TCP, CIDR. And then it says my WAN IP, so Baco just means your IPv4 address for your local machine. Because that's the whole point of FTPs. We want a FTP from somewhere. I'll paste that in. I'm not sure why this is DIR. It's supposed to say CIDR. And we'll put /32, so it's only the single IP. We're going to give the port range of 3389. And actually, this is so that we can do RDF RDP. So I guess Baco actually wants us to RDP based on this. We might end up adding another security rule using our IP address. I thought this was for the FTP, but I guess it's actually for the RDP, which is fine. And I'll go ahead and hit enter here. AWS EC2 authorized group ingress. It doesn't like something. I wish it'd just tell me what's wrong. Hit enter again. So maybe I spelled this wrong in the front here. Authorize security group. And I'll go down here and I'm just looking here because here it's going to describe the security groups. I'm not sure why we're bothering to describe it. So this is group name, default, get the default security group ID and associate with your VPC. Sure, so I'm just gonna save myself some trouble and grab it by hand here. So I just want the default one for this one here, because we have two. I'm gonna just give this a refresh because we made a VPC and I just want the default VPC for this. So I'm gonna just grab this VPC ID. I'm gonna go back to our security groups. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and filter like this. Okay, so now we're gonna grab this default one so we're not getting mixed up here. And we're going to add something very similar. So do Control R, whoops. Yeah, this one's fine. And authorize group ingress. And this is gonna be very similar, except let me just check here. Oh no, we're actually doing it on the default one. Okay. So we're gonna do this. And so this will be, I mean, okay, it says from anywhere, so we'll just do that, 0000. And we'll just give it port 22. What doesn't like? Okay, spelt it wrong still. Authorize. Security. Group ingress. This is not even the hard part. This is not the hard part. The hard part is actually the Windows server. Okay, we need to launch a Windows server. And look, Baco couldn't do it in the CLI, so he started doing the screenshots. And so what's interesting is that like Baco is really good at directory services. And the thing is, you can provision a Windows server and then use PowerShell to quickly install and configure stuff. But apparently with Simple ID, you're not allowed to do that. You have to do everything through ClickOps, and it is super painful. But we'll go ahead and work our way through this. We'll go over to EC2. We're only halfway through this, by the way, but at least we got all of our VPC stuff set up. Before we do that, let's just double check our VPC stuff so that we're not struggling here with misconfigurations. So I just want to double check this stuff before we go ahead, okay? I'd almost be good if I had like an architectural diagram of what we're actually doing. We'll go into here. Let's just take a look. We have our resource map. We have our two subnets here going into our private one. Public, private, public, private. Excellent. Okay, so that is set up right. We'll go to our route tables here. And this looks correct here. This looks correct here. Good. We'll go down to our security groups. And we'll go into the Windows one. And we'll check our inbound rules, RDP 3389, our own IP address. Obviously, you don't have the same as mine, so do not follow one-to-one like that there. We'll go here, and this has inbound traffic for SSH for everywhere. And it's saying for the same security group. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah? Okay, great. So that means that we're in good shape here. Let's go over and set up our EC2 instance. I'm gonna go launch a new one. And I don't know why he called it, but he called it this, and we're gonna just follow along. Windum, and he called it 1. I'm gonna call mine 2, so I'm not mixed up with his old one. We'll go to Windows here, and we're going to stick with Windows Server 2022 base. I don't see him changing the away from T2 Micro. I just can't imagine using T2 Micro for this. Fine, let's use it. He didn't change it, I won't change it. But every other video you see me launch a Windows machine, I always increase it. I'm used to like using Azure, where Azure just will not work on lower powered machines. Maybe it'll work here and it'll just be really slow, which is fine. I don't see him downloading the key pair. Does he download the key pair here? I don't see it. It's not in the instructions, but I'm going to do it. Before we do that, I'm just going to go and clean up my key pairs so that we're not getting so confused with all these key pairs. Let's go over here. And I'm going to go over to my key pairs here. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing this very quickly. If I can find key pairs, there we go. And I have a bunch. Everything in here is junk, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a new key pair right here. We'll just say Windows FTP. That's going to download that file. We'll probably end up having to use it. I'll refresh this here. We'll drop down and we'll choose Windows FTP. We're going to have to update our network. Here we're going to be going over to that new one we created, that 10.0016. For the subnet, it says US East 1B, 10.0010. So the first one, that's fine. We definitely want to enable assign public IP address. We're going to select the existing Windows server. We could have just made this up as we did this, as opposed to the big complicated mess of doing the CLI, but whatever. We'll go down below here, and this is where it gets interesting, where we are going to join our domain. There's some manual way of doing it, but this is the easiest way to do it. That allows your Active Directory to work with the users, groups, and other domain objects. There, we're going to drop this down and choose our new EC2 Sessions Manager profile, which has Instance Core Manager and SSM Directory Service, which we absolutely do need. So those two things are in there. I'm going to go ahead and launch this instance. And I'll see you back here when this is ready. It'll just take a little bit of time, okay? So click through, wait for the 2 status checks to pass, okay? All right, so let's see if our Windows server is ready to go. Here it is started, so we'll have to connect to it via RDP. So the way we are going to do that, and Baker didn't really show me how here, but I'm going to assume that we're going to download an RDP file to do that. So we'll go ahead and go to the RDP client. This might not work, but I don't know what else to do here. So we'll go ahead and say Remote Desktop Client, and we'll select this here, and I'm going to double click the file. And we'll say connect. If you're on Mac, you have to install this. If you're on Windows, it's not the same story. I'm not specifying the domain here, so I'm not sure how I would do that. Just give me a moment. All right, so I just hit different user here, and Bako was suggesting that we could place this in here. It's weird. The instructions will say things like, you have to use the NetBIOS here. Again, I'm not the best at this kind of stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and type this in here, and it was capital T testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation mark, and hopefully this works. It did not work. I'll be back in just a moment, okay? All right, Bako's saying I did the slash the wrong way, which is a common problem with this stuff, but we'll try this again. /administrator, capital T testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation mark. It says caps keys on, so I'll have to turn that off. Try that again. Capital T testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation mark. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that's where I would get stuck quite often. Again, not the best at this. This is the part where I find things are a little bit difficult, but we'll let this start up and give this a moment. All right, so now what we'll do, just again, be patient here because it does take time. Wait till the background appears here. And you'll notice that it's ready when you can click into here and it becomes responsive. If you just click once and be very patient. There we go, see? Don't want to click a bunch of times, you're going to have a bad time. Again, just wait for it to load. Okay, and let's see if we can type in here. So I'm going to type in features. And we're going to go ahead and turn Windows features on and off. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just following the instructions. I've done stuff like this before, but again, my memory is not the best on this. So I'm just hitting it, just waiting here and waiting for this to populate. Again, we didn't give it a lot of memory or RAM. I probably would have, again, used more, but I'm just following what's there. Looks like things are still loading. We're just going to give it a bit of time here, okay? All right, so I think everything's loaded now. I'm going to go down here to features. We'll just type in the search features. There we go. We'll click into Windows features on and off. This has brought up this wizard. It looks like we actually got it here before, so I'm just going to hit cancel. And we'll take a look here, and we'll click next, as we're not told to do anything here. We'll set up role-based. Yeah, select role-based. And then we need to go ahead and select our server. And there's stuff in the docs. So when I was doing this before, it was telling us all these instructions as well. So it's very similar. So we'll go here, select the server. Yep, it's already selected. We'll hit next. And then this is where we have to choose the roles we need to install. And this is where I kind of found it a bit finicky, but the idea here is that we need to, let me see where this is. We're going to expand this, and then this. Is this where it's under? No. Give me a moment to find it, okay? Oh, you know what? It's the next page here. There we go. And so then under here, we have something that's for AD, for Active Directory. Or maybe it's under role. Stuff is not easy to find out. Remote, where are you? Here it is, remote administration server tools. There we go. And then we need to expand role, because that's what we just set up for. Then we want to checkbox on AD tools. We're going to expand that. And this looks a little bit different from mine. Oh, no, that's right. I'm going to expand this. And we don't need snap-in, so we'll take that off. We'll expand this. And we want those two selected, so we're in good shape. And we also need the DNS server tools selected as well. We'll go ahead and hit next. There's no indication that we have to restart anything, so I'll go ahead and hit install. And we'll just wait here for this to finish, okay? Also note that the bar here doesn't go all the way to the end, so sometimes it looks like it's still going, but it's actually done, okay? All right, so after a wait here, it looks like it's now installed. We'll go ahead and hit close. And the next thing we need to do is look up Active Directory users and computers. So we'll go down here below. My microphone keeps moving on me here, so sorry for being a little bit slow here. We'll go ahead and type in Active Directory. Users and computers. We'll give it a moment here to open. Yep, it's open now. Great. So we're going to add a new group under the users. OU, that's what it says. So it doesn't show us where to click, but I'll take a look here. And I mean, this is organizational units probably over here. And like it doesn't say. Just quickly look here. Create a new group in the current container. Okay, and then up here it says within AD code.users. So I'm going to assume I'm going to click here first. All right, and then I'm going to go over here and just look for group. There we go. And that looks exactly the same. We'll call it FTP users. And this is going to be global and security. We'll go ahead and hit OK. So now we have FTP users group down below. We're going to add a new user. I'm going to assume to that group. Otherwise, why else would we be doing that? Can we double click into that group? Maybe we just need to add a user. Let's just right click here. New user. There we go. And so here, this will just be test A. And again, I would name this a bit nicer, but I'm just following what Bako has written here. So we have test A. That looks good. We'll hit next. And we'll need to put a password in here. I'm going to put capital T. testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation mark, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exclamation mark. Must change a password next login. No, thank you. User cannot change password. No, that's fine. Password never expires. Sure. Account is disabled. No. We'll go ahead and hit next. And so now we have this user. That user is not necessarily part of that group, so we'll have to add that user to the newly created group. I'm going to assume we just right click here and we're going to say, I'd rather just go here to add to group. No, that's not what I want. Let's double click it. There we go. And we have the members tab and we'll add that member. Enter the object name. It'd be nice if we could just do this easily, but we'll say ad.exampro.co/ like, I don't know, what's the examples? Can I see the examples here? Like, Baco's really assuming that I know more Azure AD than, or AD, sorry, Active Directory in general. I do not. And this is not even showing me the examples, so this is not helpful whatsoever. Give me a second here. My computer's just kind of going slow now. And because I clicked that, it tried opening up the Edge browser, and so now I'm trying to close it because it's really slow. As I don't know what format it needs to be in here, but yeah, again, just trying to close this, so I'll just, it'll take time here, okay? All right, the Windows Edge browser just refuses to close, so I'm just in a bit of a predicament, but the idea is that we need to get this user into here. I wish we could just drag it in here somehow. It would have been really nice if, maybe we could just move it? No. 1 second. All right, so what Baco was telling me was that if we double click into here, and then we add, usually you just put your username in here, like test A, and then if you hit check names, if it underlines it, it actually finds the user. So here it is actually finding it. There is also another way that we could do it. If we double click into here and we go members of, we can add the domain and just say FTP and hit check names, and notice it auto-completes to user. So I'll do it this way. And so that way it's now added to that group. And we can double check that by just double clicking into our FTP users. If we go to members, we can see that they're now a member. Okay, so that was a little bit hard, but we got it. Get the SID of the newly created group for the PowerShell on the server. So it looks like we now have to open up, I really wish this stupid thing would get out of here. Start without your data. Okay, can I click that? Just get out of here. Get out of here, Microsoft Edge. I hate you, Microsoft Edge. Go away. I'm gonna just try to close it. There we go, finally. Okay, so it's weird that you can't close it because it wants you to set it up. So frustrating. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up PowerShell. And it's important that we use administrator version. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click. Baco didn't put this in the instructions, but I'm gonna assume it is for the administrator version because it almost always is. And we'll give this a moment here. And so we're going to type in some commands here when this decides to load. I just gave it a space to wake it up. So I'm typing WMIC. I have no idea what that stands for. Group where. So we're basically querying something here. And we're saying name, like, and then single quotations, FTP users. So it looks like we're actually looking for that object. Let's see if that works. And it appears that it's returning back data, so that's good. Great. Why did we want to do that? Get the SID of the newly created group from the PowerShell to server. And so the SID is over here, which is apparently number 2. Oh no, this is the SID right here. So I guess we're going to need this for later. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy. Well, can I copy this? Control C. And I'm just going to go into something like VS Code here and see if it lets me paste. It did. So you'll have to use the Control C command because right click, I wouldn't trust it. But I have that copied here off screen. So we can come back to that later. Now apparently we need to go ahead and create ourselves an S3 bucket. I don't want to get rid of this. I'm just going to minimize this because I don't know if we have to come back into it later. And we're going to go back over to our Cloud Shell. and we'll let it reestablish a connection. We're going to go ahead and create ourselves an S3 bucket. So I'm going to say create bucket region US East 1. We have to give it a unique name. So it doesn't have to be the same name, but we'll just say this my active or FTP bucket AB for my initials and some random numbers. We have to specify bucket here if we want this to work. There we go. So now we have a bucket. We're going to need to give it some permissions. So, oh man, it's just like so many steps. I do not like this. All right, I'm gonna go and just make this manually because I just cannot do any more CLI commands. It's just so darn slow. Yeah, I've already told Bako, I was like, Bako, why the heck did you not make this a CloudFormation template? I'm going to go ahead and create a new policy here, or new role. And I want this to be for the transfer service. Okay, we're going to go next. We're going to give it some permissions. In order to do so, we're going to have to create a new policy. So we'll go off the screen here and make a policy separately because apparently you can't just do things super easily here. And we'll create ourselves a new policy. I'm going to go straight to JSON. I don't want to goof around with the UI here if it ever decides to load. Today, please. Thank you. We'll go to JSON. I'm going to copy it in here, and we're going to review it. So we have list objects and buckets. And then we have the S3 one here. Notice there's just slightly different. We're going to have to go get our bucket name, which this is mine. Yours is going to be uniquely different from mine. We're not going to have the same one. We'll paste this in. We'll paste this one in here. And yeah, that looks like something. So I think that is okay. We'll go ahead and hit next. I'll call this FTP access policy. We'll create that policy. Get rid of the space there. It might muck that up. It already exists, so I'll call it 2 because Bako did not delete all the stuff that I need to do the lab, as he did not clean it all up. So I have 2 of them. We'll go back over to here. I'm going to type in our policy name, FTP access. I'm going to give this a refresh. I'm going to choose our number 2. Yours could be without number 2. It doesn't matter. It's the same policy. But I need to make this from scratch. And I have a feeling that this name's already going to be taken as well. So go ahead and do that. And yes, it is. So I'll put a 2 on the end. You're not going to have that problem. It's just unique to me. And so now that we have our IAM policy, let me just check here. Let's go look here. So look, we created this one. We did this, right? We did that. Good. And then create another policy with what in it? Create policy, FTP policy, S3 policy. Oh, okay, sorry, we're just creating that one and then we're attaching. Okay, great. And now we're gonna enter our SID here, great. You can tell how much I like this tutorial. So we'll go over to transfer family. And we are going into the server. And I guess we're adding access probably. Yeah, there we go. And so now we got to grab that SID from earlier. We'll paste it in. And I guess that's why we needed the role. So we'll drop this down, refresh it, typing FTP user. I'm using 2 so that I'm not just taking Bako's old one. We're going to select a policy from IAM. Apparently, this is FTP. So we'll type in FTP. Access policy too. That's why we created the separate one. Okay, that makes sense. Then we're choosing our home directory. So users login directory. Well, where was this? Hold on, give me a second, okay? Oh, this is the bucket that we have to select. Okay, great. So we'll go here, my FTP bucket, and we'll go ahead and add it. Cool. Now we need to test our connection. That sounds really good. I'd love to do that because then we're pretty much done. So get the endpoint URL associated with your transfer family. Here it is. Okay, and then we need an FTP client. I actually don't have one installed, so I'm gonna go get FireZilla. Mac has some really nice ones, but this one is pretty straightforward, so I'm gonna go ahead and download it. It's been years since I've used FTP. Years. Used to use it on a regular basis, but once that's done, go ahead and install it. I'll be back here in a moment when this is downloaded and installed, okay? All right, so this is now downloaded. I'm gonna go ahead and install it. All right, and we'll go through here just in case I need to show any additional things that might be annoying. We'll go ahead, hit next, install. Retry. I'm not sure why this messed up. I'm gonna accept the agreement again. What the heck is going on? I'm gonna hit cancel. Holy smokes, give me a second here. Let me just wait for it to, yes, I wanna get out of here. It is not playing nice here today. Get out of here. Why is it the 32-bit one? Is there no 64-bit one? Let's go back. 64-bit. Why did it say 32-bit? This one says Win64. Let's try this again. I'm double clicking. We're gonna say yes. We'll say I agree. We'll give it a moment to load the data. It might be because I double clicked and there was two that were running at the same time. I'm not sure. So give it a moment, okay? All right, let's go ahead. And now it says for all users, which is a little bit different. I'm gonna go ahead and hit next. And hopefully this time the install goes without issue. There we go. We'll start it up. Excellent. And we'll hit okay. So this should be pretty straightforward. I bet the endpoint is gonna go into that location. Bako does not show us any of the inputs. Not helpful, but that's okay. Because I've done FTP for many years, so I can figure that out here. What we'll do is we will go back over to AWS Transfer Family, and this is gonna be our endpoint. It says it's internet facing, so it should be reaching out to the internet. That should be our host. We set a username that I don't remember, and we set a password I don't remember. I remember it's testing 1 2 3 4 5 6 exclamation mark, and our user is test A. Like, what is it? He doesn't write it anywhere. We'll go ahead and put this in here, test.a. We'll say quick connect. Say okay. Like, which is it? You know what I mean? Like, is it with the full name, or I guess we'll go back here and take a look while we're waiting, as I don't see it establishing a connection. So we'll go here, expand this, go to users, and I'll go to test A. And what is their username? I don't know. Address, account, what is it? Username, test.a. Okay. The question is, do we have to do @add at exampro.co? Because that's usually what you'll have to do when you enter in accounts here. So I'm just trying to get this out of the way. Oh yeah, I'm trying to drag this whole thing out of the way here. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna say @add.exampro.co. We'll try to, this should be on port 22. We'll try to quick connect. We'll say okay. We're gonna get in. We're in. Wow. Okay, great. So now I just need some kind of image to work with. So we'll go over to ChatGPT and we'll say, make an image of a dog that is slam dunking a basketball into a basketball net. There we go. Well, it's going to give us a WebPG image. I'll just wait a moment here to generate my image out. You can obviously get any image you want. We're just trying to get something to upload here. Not the best image, but we'll take it. And I'm just dragging it to my desktop here. And now I'm going to bring up FileZilla. And I'm going to go ahead and just double click into here. And I'm going to drag over this graphic here. And hopefully it's going to upload. So we'll give it a moment to upload. And now the transfer is complete. So now I can go ahead and confirm this in S3. Is it worth our time to do this? Probably not. Is there another way that could have been easier? Probably if we used like a Lambda authorizer, we could have just like hard coded a value, but I really wanted to have an opportunity for us to use Active Directory with something else and join it to something so that we could tick off those boxes and get some experience. But yeah, we have our file, so we're in good shape. So now it's the painful part of tearing everything down. Let's close out FileZilla since we are done with it here. So we'll go ahead and just close this out here. I know somewhere we have our window open here. We'll close that out. We'll say okay. And we'll start to tear everything down. So we'll go over to our instances. I think that's the first place is to tear down the instance. We'll go here and say terminate. And we'll terminate that instance and we'll let that terminate. So I'll just be back here in just a moment when that's done terminating, okay? All right, so that instance is now terminated. Let's go ahead and get rid of our S3 bucket if it lets us. So we'll go ahead to our S3 bucket. And here's my bucket, so I'm gonna go ahead and just delete that. We'll have to empty it first, of course, as per usual. And then we'll delete our bucket. Okay, so now our bucket is deleted. And we want to go over to AWS Transfer Family. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And now what I want to do is go over to directory service because we really don't want to leave that running. So we'll go over to directory service. And we'll go ahead and delete our directory. There we go. Great, so that is now deleting. We want to get rid of our VPC, but before we do, let's go ahead and get rid of these policies we're creating for the FTP, just so that we don't have a mess of these. I'm gonna go ahead and detach. Sure. And I'm gonna go to the other one here, FTP, and we'll say detach. That way we can actually delete them, and we'll say FTP here, and just clean up so that we can FTP. Just keep things nice and tidy. Delete. And I'm going to have to go ahead and delete this one as well. Good. And we'll have to do that for our rules as well. Say FTP. We'll delete this one. FTP user. I'm just going to copy this here. I'm not sure only one showed up. Maybe because the other one is different casing, or maybe we have to give this a refresh. There it is. And we'll delete it. And I'm going to go back to our instances, and I'm going to go over to key pairs. We'll get rid of this key pair so we don't have a mess of key pairs. We'll go over to security groups. And I'll get rid of this Windows one we created. Okay, we'll go over to Elastic IPs. There's a lot to clean up. We'll go ahead and delete or release these IPs. It's the same thing as deleting them. And maybe we can get rid of our VPC now. So we'll go ahead and attempt to get rid of our VPC. This is really dependent on whether the FTP transfer service was actually gone or the directory service was utilizing it. We're going to go ahead and delete this VPC. It's really thinking, I'm not sure why, but we'll let it think. Maybe just hit cancel, try that again. It should not take that long for it to pop up. And it has a problem with these two init eyes. Great, what is this attached to? Maybe this is the simple AD still spinning down, I suppose. For the directory, yeah. So the directory is still not done. Let's go over to directory service. As we have to wait for that to fully delete so we can get rid of our VPC. So I'll just wait for this to finish. All right, let's see if it is done deleting. It is now done deleting. Excellent. We'll go back to our VPC. We'll see if we can go ahead and delete that now. Let's go ahead and try to delete that. And is it working? It looks like it is. Yep. Okay, we'll go ahead and delete. There we go. And I think we've deleted everything. It's hard to say. There was so much that we did. But yeah, we accomplished two big goals, which was it was transfer family and working with directory service. So there you go. And we'll see you in the next one. Okay. Ciao.